These are people who seek to kill Mr. Kelly.
According to documents that R. Kelly's legal team just filed, they are alleging that there is a man, last name Stein, who is a gang leader, a big gang leader, and that he has provided a sworn statement to them that prison officials offered him his freedom to spend his last days free if he would allegedly kill R. Kelly.
R. Kelly isn't just serving time. According to his lawyers, he's fighting for his life against a prison system that, in their words, might want him gone for good. But why would federal officials risk everything to silence him? And how did a dying gang leader, sworn court statements, and a chilling plot to poison him all collide into one of the wildest prison stories ever told? This isn't the story you saw on the evening news. This is the story that insiders say was never meant to reach the public.
He was dizzy. He started to see black spots. He got up and he fell. He crawled to the door of the cell and he lost consciousness then. At that point, he was placed on a gurney. He was taken by ambulance to a nearby hospital because they tried to take him to the hospital inside of or associated with the facility that he's in, but they couldn't help him.
It all starts with a man named Glenn Stein. For decades, Stein built his reputation as a ruthless enforcer inside the federal system. He was a high-ranking member of the Aryan Brotherhood, one of the most feared prison gangs in America. And by the time 2023 rolled around, Stein was a dying man. Terminal cancer had left him with only months to live. But even as his body was breaking down, his influence remained. He had been locked up since the early 1980s on murder charges, had threatened federal officials in the past, and had built a legacy as someone who could order violence with a single nod.
His team alleges that it was overheard someone in the ambulance from the hospital say this is going to open a whole new can of worms.
So when prison officials allegedly needed someone to take out R. Kelly, Stein became the perfect candidate. He was a man with nothing left to lose, a violent past, and a clock ticking down. According to a sworn statement he filed in May 2025, Stein was approached at a Supermax prison in Colorado by a Bureau of Prisons official named Ray Childress. But Childress didn't come alone. He allegedly showed up with Warden Gutierrez and Associate Warden Stengel. No guards in sight, no witnesses around. That kind of secrecy sent a message. This was serious business. The deal put in front of Stein was as twisted as it was simple. He would be transferred to FCI Butner in North Carolina, the same prison where R. Kelly was serving his time. Once there, his job was to take Kelly out, permanently. In exchange, Stein wouldn't face consequences. Any evidence against him would accidentally disappear. The case would fall apart. And according to him, he'd even be given a chance to escape and spend his final days free. Think about that for a moment. A federal agency official allegedly offering a dying man freedom if he agreed to kill one of the most infamous singers in modern history. If true, it would mean corruption at the highest level of the prison system. But this story was about to take a turn nobody expected. Stein agreed to the deal. Within 2 weeks, he was transferred from Arizona to North Carolina. First placed in the medical unit, he was later moved into the same block as R. Kelly. The plan was in motion. He was given constant reminders of why he was there. A quiet word from staff, a look from a guard, pressure to handle business. Stein followed Kelly's movements. He learned his daily routine, the weak spots in his schedule, the places where an attack could be pulled off without anyone noticing. Everything was lined up, and then something unexpected happened. Facing his own mortality, Stein claims he started to rethink the path he'd taken. For decades, he had been a violent man, running with gangs, spilling blood, and living in the chaos of prison life. But in his final months, he said he had what he called a change of heart. Instead of carrying out the hit, Stein went directly to Kelly. He told him the truth, that he had been sent to kill him. He named names, laid out the plan, and warned him his life was in danger. Kelly must have been shocked. Imagine being told face to face by a hardened killer who had been shadowing your every move that he was there to end your life, and that the orders had come from the very system that was supposed to be holding you safely behind bars. But Stein wasn't done. He offered to testify. He offered to take a lie detector test. He offered to expose the Bureau of Prisons itself, admitting that he had worked with them for years, orchestrating beatings and even killings inside prison walls, all in exchange for favors and protection. It sounded unbelievable. But Stein wasn't the only one who would make claims like this. On June 6, 2025, Kelly's legal team learned that another Aryan Brotherhood member at FCI Butner had also been approached. This time, it was David Keith Harris. Harris's story was even darker. He claimed that prison official Lieutenant Teague told him to kill not just Kelly, but Stein as well. The method? Poison. The plan was to slip it into Kelly's meals or even into commissary food. That way, it would look like a medical condition, maybe tied to his existing blood clots or a so-called accidental overdose. The coldness of the plan was chilling. Food is supposed to be one of the few things an inmate can count on. But here, even eating could be a death sentence. Like Stein, Harris refused. Instead, he came forward with his own sworn statement. He too offered to testify, to name names, to put his own credibility on the line. By this point, the allegations were no longer just whispers. They were documented, signed, and filed in federal court. Kelly's legal team was ready to go public. And then, just days later, the situation exploded. June 13, 2025 started like any other day. R. Kelly was in solitary confinement, supposedly for his own protection. But what happened that morning made his lawyers claim it was actually the most dangerous place he could be. Kelly woke up feeling dizzy, his vision blurred. He saw black spots. He tried to stand but collapsed, crawling to the cell door before blacking out completely. Guards rushed him out on a gurney. He was taken by ambulance to Duke University Hospital in Durham. Doctors there made disturbing findings. According to Kelly's lawyers, tests showed he had dangerously high levels of medication in his system, way more than his normal prescription. On top of that, they discovered blood clots in his legs and lungs, a condition that can kill instantly if untreated. Doctors wanted him to stay for at least a week, maybe longer. But according to his legal team, prison officers stormed into his hospital room with weapons drawn and forced him back into confinement against medical advice. If true, it was one of the coldest moves imaginable, taking a man in life-threatening condition away from the doctors trying to save him and returning him to the very system accused of trying to kill him. At this point, Kelly's legal team had no doubt. They called it what it was, an assassination attempt. On June 10th, just before Kelly collapsed, his lawyers had already filed an emergency motion. They demanded his immediate release into home detention. Their evidence? Sworn statements from both Stein and Harris, plus detailed allegations of corruption, illegal surveillance, and witness tampering during Kelly's trials. They even went a step further, appealing directly to then-President Donald Trump. In their words, only Trump could save Kelly's life because the courts were moving too slow. The government's response was swift and brutal. Prosecutors called the claims fanciful and fantastic, accusing Kelly's team of inventing a story to manipulate the court. They reminded everyone of Kelly's convictions, branding him a prolific abuser and saying his victims deserve justice, not conspiracy theories. On June 20th, Judge Martha M. Picode agreed with the prosecutors. She denied Kelly's motion, ruling that she had no authority to grant release and that the evidence wasn't strong enough to justify further hearings. But even with the legal defeat, the story wasn't over. Long before the assassination allegations of 2025, R. Kelly had already learned the dangers of prison life. Back in August 2020, while awaiting trial in Chicago, he was attacked in his cell by an inmate named Jeremiah Shane Farmer. Farmer was a convicted member of the Latin Kings, serving time for the brutal hammer murders of two men. His face was covered in tattoos, including teardrops that symbolized lives he had taken. That morning, Farmer slipped away from prison staff, entered Kelly's cell, and launched a violent attack while Kelly was sleeping. He punched him repeatedly in the head and body. Guards had to use pepper spray to stop it. Kelly survived, but the message was clear. In the prison hierarchy, men convicted of crimes against minors, like Kelly, are at the very bottom. And attacks like these are not just common, they're expected. Farmer later claimed the government made him do it, alleging that staff encouraged him to go after Kelly. Whether true or not, the incident showed just how unsafe Kelly's life behind bars had become. Inside prison, there's an unwritten rule. Child offenders are fair game. They're targeted, harassed, beaten, or even killed. To many inmates, attacking someone like R. Kelly isn't just violence. It's a badge of honor. This so-called prison justice creates an environment where someone like Kelly is always in danger, and gangs like the Aryan Brotherhood often justify attacks by claiming they're protecting children. But here's the hypocrisy. Many of these same gang members have their own records involving minors. The moral high ground is a facade. In reality, it's about power, reputation, and control. For R. Kelly, it means every day is a gamble. Whether it's a fellow inmate seeking clout or, as his lawyers allege, prison officials orchestrating something bigger, he remains one of the most high-risk inmates in the system. So where does that leave us? We have sworn statements from two Aryan Brotherhood members claiming federal officials tried to hire them to kill R. Kelly. We have allegations of poisoning, medical cover-ups, and illegal surveillance stretching back years. We have doctors' findings, ambulance rides, and court filings that read more like a crime novel than a legal motion, and yet we also have prosecutors calling it a complete fabrication. We have judges dismissing it as baseless, and we have a public that's deeply divided. Some convinced Kelly is being silenced, others certain he's just trying to escape justice. The truth may never be fully known. But one thing is certain. Behind prison walls, Robert Sylvester Kelly is living on borrowed time. Was he really the target of a government-backed hit squad? Or is this the most desperate legal strategy in modern history? That's for you to decide.